So, credit card road mapping is a really important way to track your credit card strategy for the entire year and just make sure that you're maximizing all of the value that you're able to get. And so, in this video, I actually invited on Spencer Johnson, who pretty much coined the term credit card road mapping. I know that there's been, talk about strategies and stuff like that for a while, but honestly, I think you're the first person that I've ever heard the term credit card road mapping from. So, could you kind
Yeah.
of talk a little bit more about like how that was born, what it is, and then like
Mhm.
your analytical approach for tracking it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, thanks for having me on. I
Of
appreciate
course.
you having
Yeah.
me, but,
Thanks for coming.
of course, yeah. It's funny actually that I think that you're correct in saying that I didn't see any credit card road mapping videos on YouTube before I did it. There are other ways to say the same thing, but funny enough, RJ Financial is the one that gave me the idea for it. We did our creator
Mhm.
conversations, and he was talking to me after for a while, and he was like, I was telling him, what the channel was all about and everything, and he's like, you should maybe, do some kind of like credit card roadmap video. And I was like, that sounds like a cool term. So I started doing
Yeah.
it. So it really is all thanks to RJ, honestly.
Okay. Nice.
But yeah, the term roadmap to me, what it really means is just kind of like you said in the intro. It's just take the time, every few months to make sure that the cards that are on my radar, the cards that I want to apply for next, actually fit my strategy. That means they fit within like all of the different rules with each lender that I care about.
Mhm.
Make sure I'm getting the right welcome offers on them, all of that kind of stuff. I take care of all of that in like one main spreadsheet that has just become like my credit card road mapping spreadsheet that I have in like the description of those videos for people to download if they want to do the same. But
Mhm.
to me, yeah, I come from a place, I come from a background of civil engineering. So in general, my mind is just very, I guess, like analytical in a lot of ways. And I love working in spreadsheets. And I've always had like a master financial spreadsheet that I've used for years now. I track every dollar that I spend and stuff like that. So to
Mhm.
me, a roadmap was just like a logical next step. And it started, very bare bones where I would just kind of lay out all the different card options that I could even think of and then start just like slotting them in as they made sense along my strategy. And while, yes, I maybe have made like some small mistakes along the way, which I just covered recently in a video, overall, in making a roadmap, I've kept myself out of a lot of trouble and have been able to maximize every dollar that I've spent because of that roadmap. And they're going to be different for every person. Keep that in mind too. Like I'm the kind of person that is applying for a card every 3 months, basically. So roadmap
Mhm.
for me is very important because I am running into issues with like the Chase 524 rule, the Amex 5
Yeah.
credit card limit, like stuff like that. That actually matters for my strategy. But somebody that is only going to hold like 3 to 5 cards, their roadmap matters a lot less. There are still
Yeah.
ways to optimize your stuff, but yeah. So for me, it's been like essential because I literally am just adding so many cards every year. I have to do it in the right order at the right timing.
So I feel like I'm a little bit less structured than you in terms of I probably should be more structured in terms of having a better way to track everything and make sure that I'm not, making some mistakes like knowing where I'm at with my 524 status or different
Mhm.
rules with Amex and stuff like that. But I wonder just in terms of different welcome bonuses that pop up. Obviously, our goal is always going to be that if we're have certain credit cards in mind that we want to get, that we want to take advantage of getting the highest welcome offers possible for each of them. So,
Mhm.
how proactive versus reactive do you think your credit card roadmap should be in terms of, hey, here's my plan for the entire year, but oh, all of a sudden this card has a way higher welcome bonus than I expected. So now I want to like
Mhm.
change a lot of stuff around. How much are you changing during the year and how reactive to welcome bonuses should it be? Or how proactive for like the whole year plan should it be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do want to. I mean, if you go on my channel, you actually kind of see the answer to that in the sense that I post probably like 3 or 4 road mapping videos a year because it
Yeah.
does change more frequently than I would expect sometimes. So I will say that while yes, I think it's very important to have like an annual plan for your credit card roadmap, like I just made a video on my channel. I don't like I won't handcuff myself, and only get the cards that are on that roadmap. I like to consider every card option out there. Like for a lot of for a lot of this year we saw big massive card changes that came out, whether it be Amex cards or like the new Wells Fargo autograph journey. All of
Hmm.
that kind of stuff happened this year, and if I was just going to stick to the original plan that I had, I would not have been as successful. Speaking specific to the welcome bonuses, that is something that really drives the timing of my roadmap. But I will say that I try not to go out of my way to apply for a card just because it has an elevated offer on it, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily want to just like up in my entire roadmap and push myself up to 524.
Right.
Like
Right.
there's a great example of this being that I guess it must have been last year. Whenever we saw that really, really high personal Amex Platinum card offer that was like
Mhm.
175,000 points or something like
Yeah.
that.
Uh-huh.
I was strongly considering applying for it. And actually, I did end up trying to just to see if I could get approved for it or not. But I got stuck in pop-up jail, of course. But
Mhm.
whenever an offer like that comes to the table, a lot of times for me, it's come at an inopportune time where, like, for example,
Mhm.
I'm sitting at 424 within the Chase 524 rule, meaning that if I apply for any personal card, I'm stuck. Like, I can't apply for any Chase cards after that point until my cards start to age past 2 years. So in that situation, if I would have pushed myself up to 524, I kind of would have been screwed with all the other cards that I ended up wanting to add over the last year, a lot of which being like the Chase Ink cards when they had really high, like 90,000 point welcome offers for a no annual fee card. Like, I would have missed out on all of that value if I
Yeah.
applied for the platinum card back then. So there's definitely a good mix of proactive versus reactive going on. I think it's great to set an intention for the few months, ahead, or the year ahead. But as things start to change within the credit card world, you have to be okay and ready to adapt. And that's actually an example of that I had last year was the City Strata Premier, or I guess this year, the City
Mhm.
Strata Premier. Whenever it got rebranded from the City Premier card, it had an elevated offer on it. Well, at least we thought it was elevated at the time. I think the offer is still the same, even though it says
Yeah.
like limited time offer. But yeah, so like right whenever it refreshed, I had no intentions of getting that card that early, but I took it from the bottom of my roadmap and shifted it up and
Mhm.
adjusted accordingly. And I locked in an elevated offer on it and now have a card that I've been wanting in my setup for a long time. Just wasn't expecting to get it so soon. So yeah, definitely a
Mhm.
balance, but um, always good to have some kind of plan, I think.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And in terms of like how you're structuring your plan, obviously, you have a list of credit cards that you want to get at some time in the
Mhm.
future, and you're basing some of those decisions based off of rules or restrictions that you need to make sure you're aware of so you're not getting
Mhm.
yourself into trouble. I'm just curious because I've seen it from my own situation in terms of, hey, I have this trip coming up, so it would make a lot of
Yeah.
sense to get this credit card because of this points currency that could help me with that redemption. How much do you base what credit cards you get based off of those types of, like, I guess, like real life scenarios with like a certain
Mhm.
trip? Or are you more so taking the trips aspect out of it and just focusing on credit cards itself?
Yeah. Yeah. I think for the most part, I would say I fall in the camp of like I don't really base it as much off of my trips. And I think that
Okay.
actually is like an interesting dynamic that you and I are a little bit different on because
Mhm.
I know that you like to take, maybe bigger trips less frequently. And my redemption strategy, at least in 2024, was like I took 10 plus trips, basically all domestically for the most part. I did do a couple
Mhm.
international, but I'm booking like smaller trips very frequently. So I
Mhm.
really never like consider I never have to apply for say like a Hilton Aspire card and like make sure I have this status ahead of time and make sure I get enough points for that trip. A lot of times I'm
Yeah.
earning transferable currencies that can all be somewhat combined across overlapping transfer partners. So I worry less about that, but it definitely still comes into my head. Like more
Mhm.
so probably actually reactively in that case, where if I just booked like a big trip to like I did one to Croatia this past year, that took up a lot of my points. I'm like, shoot, well, I'm pretty low on these currencies now. So then I would
Yeah.
kind of structure my strategy to earn back more of those points to even out my pool, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes
I
sense.
know like I have buddies, like whenever I talk to them in person, like they have trips coming up. And a lot of times whenever I'm recommending what they should do, it's almost fully based off of their trips. But I just didn't
Mhm.
realize that until now you said that I'm more in the camp of just making sure that the overall roadmap and cards I'm getting make sense for me rather than just planning around trips. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And like we were kind of talking about in one of our other clips that we filmed, situationally basing your decisions off of who you are and how you travel and where your location is, I think makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah,
for that
absolutely.
sense, it makes sense. Could you give us
Yeah.
all a preview of your 2025 credit card roadmap? What credit cards you're looking to add next year, and how you think that there could be some shifting in it? But what
Yeah.
I guess like what your top priorities are for next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also interested to hear maybe some of what you got in store as well. But
Yeah, of course.
um, yeah, so I've talked about my strategy this year is a little bit different than normal. And really the reason for that is because I'm at a point now in my journey where I've applied for 16 cards, really
Mhm.
have every single card I could ever imagine needing, like I don't have any earning category that I'm not really hitting very well or any benefit that I don't necessarily have covered. So I'm at the point now where I'm really adding cards strictly for their welcome offers for the most part.
Mhm.
Um, there is a little bit of flex in there. Like I don't really have any hotel status right now, for example. So if I was to book a big trip right now, I would strongly consider getting a card like the Hilton Aspire.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I'm mainly eyeing cards for their welcome offers and seeing what they can do for me. So as for my roadmap right now, I applied for the Southwest Performance Business like last month to
Mhm.
lock in an offer to help me gain enough points towards the Southwest Companion Pass next year, which is kind of like a niche strategy, but one that
Yeah.
is extremely valuable and I'm super excited to take advantage of. So that was
Mhm.
step one in that process. So as for 2025, I plan on applying for the Southwest Priority card next to then get enough points to get the Companion Pass. So that's again really only being added for the welcome offer. Sure, I'll get value from its benefits, but just trying to get Companion Pass. After
Mhm.
that, I'll be applying for the Amex Business Platinum is the plan, mainly to again lock in a really high welcome offer for a really high spend time for me, being my tax payments. I can
Mhm.
never hit that offer naturally, other than that.
Yeah.
So that's the goal there, just to lock in a high welcome offer, just like I did on the Amex Business Gold last year. So that's the plan for that second card. We'll see if that one comes to fruition. I also am actually excited to use that card and see what kind of value I can get out of it. Never been to a Centurion Lounge or anything like that, so I could use
Mhm.
that card to help me out there,
Cool.
as well as the 35% points rebate. It's like a subtle benefit that I also mentioned earlier that I really enjoy.
Yeah. No, I'm really curious to see how you, because that's one of the benefits. Like maybe that, like in some ways, like out of all the credit cards that are out there, like for a certain set of people, like that benefit is maybe the best benefit, like out of
Yeah,
any credit card in the entire world. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I'm really excited to hear how you use that.
Yeah, it basically becomes it's like the Chase Sapphire Reserve of the Amex world. Like
Right.
it basically brings your guaranteed redemption rate to 1.5 ish cents per point for every domestic flight at international, but I
Mhm.
would only use it for domestic. So yeah, I'm excited about that too. Yeah, those are the first two cards, and then after that, I kind of just decided that I really don't even know what cards are going to be out at that time. That puts me at like mid 2025. So
Mhm.
my plan initially, again, being this first rendition of my roadmap, is to kind of go towards my hotel credit card strategy, which I know is something that you focused in on a lot this year as well.
Mhm.
But I have some other cards that I can consider adding in that respect. For example, like I don't have any of the World of Hyatt cards yet. So on my roadmap, I see that, I'm a little bit under 524 in mid 2025. So I have the ability to start adding more, Chase cards. And technically, since I have nothing else to really apply for with them, besides maybe some ink cards, I could go ahead and lock in the business Hyatt card as well as the personal one back to back. So that's my initial plan. And then
Nice.
also the Marriott Bonvoy business card is on my roadmap, which
Cool.
the main reason it's on there besides the hotel strategy is because of proper planning, I guess, last year or the year before, whenever I applied for the Marriott Boundless card with Chase. So again, we'll be diving into the weeds a little bit for a second, but I knew that in applying for that Boundless card, I locked myself out of welcome offers on any Amex Marriott cards for 2 years. That's one of the rules that I knew I had to follow. And now that 2 year clock is up, it's a great time to add that Marriott business card, which is an Amex card. That way I don't like extend my clock too long. So I could
Mhm.
consider adding the Marriott business as well as the Marriott Brilliant card if I wanted to this year as well. So
Mhm.
those are like that's like the main five cards that I'm looking at getting. Again, mainly all for their welcome offers or some benefits with the hotels that I like the most, that being Hyatt. And I am trying to implement a long term Marriott strategy. So that's
Cool.
the gist of it.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm in a very similar situation to you in the sense that
Mhm.
I think we started timing wise at a similar time as well. But I'm kind of at the point where I'm covering all of my main categories. I'm covering a decent amount of statuses that I want. So it's like, all right,
Mhm.
what's my next step at this point? And a lot of it, similar to you, is focusing on certain welcome offers that I want, but then also seeing how I can change a couple of things around in terms of, maybe increasing my status with certain brands or maybe
Mhm.
just having more options in terms of multipliers. But yeah, I just actually applied for the Alaska credit card again
Nice.
a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago, just because there's a limited time offer available right now for 70K points plus a companion pass.
Mm.
But going off that, I'm curious to see because there's a premium Alaska credit card coming out next summer. And it's the first time that something like that has ever come out. So I'm really curious to see how that looks. I'm not like bound to the idea of like I have to get it, but I'm curious to see, and I might get it.
Mhm.
And then outside of that, like I still haven't added like the Amex Platinum for instance, or the Business Platinum. So potentially towards the end of next year, I would consider adding the Platinum just
Mhm.
for year one value, and also because I think it makes sense for my own situation. But then outside of that, I think I'm a little bit more reactive with my strategy in terms
Yeah.
of seeing what sort of offers come to fruition, especially now that I'm pretty like built out in my overall setup, and I'm
Mhm.
kind of just basing what credit cards I get based off certain welcome offers. And I'm a little bit less structured than you, but I do have like a running tally that just
Yeah.
shows me where I'm at with my like, Chase 524 status and different restrictions and stuff too.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, no,
similar
I think
strategy.
very similar strategy in terms of the welcome offers. And yeah, I think next year should be a fun year. Probably a lot of good credit cards to add. Hopefully, some new ones will come onto the market, and
Yeah.
hopefully, some great offers to take advantage of too.
Yeah. I'm excited. I have a predictions video coming out next week. So I'm like
Oh,
hoping
nice.
for a couple new cards that would
Yeah,
impact my roadmap quite a bit. So that's why that second half of the year, I'm kind of just like, well, we'll see what happens. But if nothing changes for whatever reason, I'm going to stick to
yeah,
this strategy for now, So yeah,
fair. I have a similar video coming out in the next couple of weeks, and I'll just slide this in
nice.
here really quick. But I'm curious about it. It probably won't happen, but one of my like far stretching predictions, and the reason that it's a far stretching one is because it's been out there for a while, but it hasn't actually happened. Is maybe a luxury city card, and
Yep.
I'm just wondering about the rebranding this year with the Strata Premier. If they're doing the rebranding so they can keep some sort of consistency when they do come out with that premium card, they just added
Hmm.
the travel protections too. We'll see.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it should be an interesting year next year.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for talking to us a little bit more about credit card road mapping. It's definitely something that I think
Absolutely.
everyone should prioritize and make sure they have a good strategy in place for every year. So thank you so much, Spencer, for coming on the channel,
Mhm.
and really appreciate having you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Sweet. And thank you all so much for watching the video. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and peace.